All right, fam, welcome to our next journey. I'm your host, Tamara Smith. I'm a healthcare executive and health equity practitioner. And today we have my absolute favorite expert and human returning on the journey with us because May is Mental Health Month. So of course, our resident mental health expert, Cassielle Smith, is back with us today. If you don't know, Cassielle is a brilliant licensed clinical mental health counselor, licensed clinical addiction specialist, and a certified clinical supervisor. But even more than that, he is an even more brilliant husband, father, and best friend. And I'm not just saying that because he's my hubby, but I'm saying that because all who know Cassielle know it to be true as well. So yes, I'm excited for him to share his knowledge and wisdom with us again this month. But since May is Mental Health Month, we decided to practice what we preach and not just talk about the things that help improve mental health, but actually walk it out. So grab your coffee or your tea and join us for a coffee chat outside enjoying nature, or put on your earbuds and take us on a walk with you as Cassielle shares some practical tips for what practicing mental health looks like in action. So it is time for coffee with a counselor. Let's go. All right, fam, so here we are out here enjoying nature. Maybe you've grabbed some coffee or some tea if that's your thing, or perhaps you just put in the earbuds and you went for a walk. Either way, we appreciate you joining us for this Coffee with a Counselor version of our journey to equity. As I mentioned, we are joined today with my favorite human in the world, Cassielle Smith, who also happens to be my husband, and also is my favorite counselor, as he is a licensed clinical addiction specialist, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and a clinical supervisor, all of the things. So he is well-versed and very educated in all things related to mental health, especially as we think about mental health in the Black community and all of the different nuances and stigmas and issues related to mental health that has been a part of our community for years and years. So welcome back, Cassielle. Again, Cassielle joined us for his journey in season 1, episode 8. So if you missed that journey, please go back, learn a lot more about Cassielle's journey. We're not going to go into too much detail today about his journey, but today what we are going to do is get really, really practical. So we want to learn much more in the tangible state of how do you actually address and walk through mental health issues. So I know previously you shared as a part of your journey that depression and anxiety is something that you've not only walked through, but are actively managing. So maybe that's a good place for us to start. So practical tips. What do you tell people? How did you do it? What were some things that you would recommend for someone that might be struggling right now with depression, anxiety, or have a loved one that struggles with it?
Right. So first and foremost, I like to let everybody know that your personal journey through mental health is your personal journey. My journey is different than yours. And of course, your journey is different than others. So I just like to preface it by saying that. But there are some helpful tips that are universal that can potentially help you in what you're going through. For me specifically, there were a lot of different things, and they're forever changing. They're not just set in stone. They are evolving as I evolve. So earlier on in the beginning, before when I initially just started having more mental health symptoms, got more language for it, became more aware of it, I was trying to do the things that were natural, that came natural to me. I'm a former athlete, like to still think that I'm an athlete. So I was working out, lifting weights, jogging periodically. So I was doing that from the exercise standpoint. But then also I'm a social bug. I like to be around others, and I gain energy from others. And so being around others kept a sort of normalcy for me. And so my main thing, as I felt my inner self was unraveling, I wanted to try to keep as much normalcy as possible.
Okay.
And so being around others and just trying to keep the same kind of routine, it was almost like you fake it till you make it kind of mindset you adopt. With that, knowing that that other part, making it, is the key thing.
So let's dig into a little bit more about the routine. So I think sometimes some people will hear you say, you've got to, one thing that might help is keeping a regular routine. And some people might be overwhelmed by that, like, okay, let me get my agenda out and try to figure out how to schedule my day. And then after 2 days, you're no longer keeping that routine. So how practical of a routine are we talking about? Is it something really, really structured, or is it just a few things that, might help you, like taking a shower today?
It is all of those things. You know me, obviously I'm not one of those structured individuals, so I'm a go with the flow type of person. And so there would be times where I would say, today this is what I need, and that thing might be, let me go for a walk in the park. There would be many days where I would just drive to the park or drive somewhere and just be in nature, just because I did not want to be inside. So getting some type of sunlight is important. Trying not to isolate yourself as much as possible is something that you will want to try to do. It's one of those things that, again, you go with the flow. For me, it was going with the flow. And I told myself to try to be intentional about whatever you're trying to do, just trying to be intentional about it, so that the intentionality had an end goal, and the end goal was that you wanted to feel well. For others, it might be, I need to be on a structured, day-to-day, minute-by-minute type of thing. And if that's what you do, and if that's what gives you some sort of balance, I would say go for it. Always having something in place that helps you. A lot of times it's creating a prevention plan. Prevention plans are exactly what it is. You are trying to prevent problematic symptoms, or symptoms from going from 0 to 10, and 10 being extreme. So as much as you can create some sort of balance in your day-to-day activities that create, stay within 0 to 10, that's what you want to do. So it might mean in the morning you go for a walk. Or work out. It may be that, you come home, of course you want to shower. You want to do those natural things that will help you throughout the day that create some sort of normalcy. And prevention is when you start to see yourself slipping. Let's just say you start to see yourself wanting to isolate yourself more, or wanting to not talk to people, or feel like you're getting more irritable, or you just feel like there's a fog over you. You want to be intentional about trying to do something different. And the prevention plan comes in to be specific. You want to try to do something specific to that symptom that will help you alleviate that symptom and bring you back up to a normal balance. So it could be anything that you feel or you determine that will get you out of that fog. So
I resonate with that. I remember during COVID, and I think a lot of people probably share this experience as well, that when everything shut down and you're just in the house on Zoom all day, I remember, for me, multiple days of just kind of feeling like you're just in this little bubble, and you just kind of get in this funk, and I remember feeling like, oh, I'm just in a funk, but then I would like take a shower and it's like I'm a new woman again. You just kind of feel renewed or refreshed. And that's when I realized, without knowing all of this, how important like a daily shower, something structured. Not that I don't take daily showers, friends, but but back then I think everybody was just sort of trying to figure out your rhythm, and like, how do I exist in this world when I can't be outside? When I can't be in the world. And so
be around people.
Be around people, right? So just having something.
And as doing something shows that you're trying to do well, maintain your mental wellness. A lack of those things show that there might be something going on. So we're trying to identify, okay, if I'm having some type of, depression, anxiety, or any type of mental health challenge, what am I not doing anymore? So on one end, you're trying to be preventive and trying to do those things that, help your mental health, but also if you're one that might not have experienced mental health symptoms or might not have identified them, and then you have a lack in your normal activities, that possibly could be an indicator that maybe something clinical may be going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's so funny. I remember there was a time period where I was going to work and I had to wake up at 3 o'clock to go in for 5 o'clock. I was working at a methadone clinic and it was zapping. It was draining me a lot. But I remember on my way home, I would watch. Well, I wouldn't watch. I would listen to the audio of some comedians. So I can come home and just from transition from work and just have this moment where I'm just laughing.
Yeah.
You know,
kind of
helping the serotonin.
Serotonin levels.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was part of what I needed to transition.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of people, especially working from home now, there's a lot of us working from home where there's not really that transition point where we just stop doing work and we transition and then come home because we don't have that drive.
Yeah.
We are in our homes working. And so I will encourage anybody to adopt a transition activity that you do, whether it's after work on a computer, you go outside for a walk, or you walk out the door, say some affirmations or some mantras to yourself, and then come back in the door. It's symbolic of you transitioning. It's just the little things. And it's really what you decided to be. It doesn't have to be what we say, oh, this is what you do to transition. It's whatever you decide, and then you implement that. And then you affirm what you're doing. You affirm that, yes, I transition, I'm here with my family.
Yeah.
So it's about having that self-awareness, doing the activity, then affirming yourself so that you can continue that behavior.
That is so good, because that's something that I need to do more frequently.
A lot of us do.
Because, I work mostly from home now, and I have found that on what used to be my car ride home, I used to be able to just sort of decompress, think about things from the day, wrap up a couple of things in my mind, maybe make a note if I'm stopped in traffic. And then by the time I got home, I would listen to my favorite music, whatever mood I was in, right? Sometimes it'd be a little bit more ratchet than others, but whatever it was I needed, that was really a great way to decompress. And, what you're saying is, do something that so you need to have a level of self-awareness about what helps you decompress.
Right.
And I bet it could be something similar to what you would typically do on a car ride home, right? So like if I know I would choose a genre of music based off of my mood, then part of my sort of, decompressing routine while I'm home and I need to transition could include, just picking a genre of music, right? And, sometimes I'm going to be in the mood to go outside and walk. Sometimes it might be raining and I don't like being in the rain, but definitely I could start there. I think that's a really practical tip that a lot of people could probably start with. And then affirming. So, say a little bit more about that. What do you mean by, I know what daily affirmations are, of course, but what are some other ways that you could affirm to yourself that, because it's almost like your mind has to catch up with your brain and the rest of your body to agree and believe that we are officially transitioned and off of work, right? Because sometimes you might say, okay, I'm done, but your brain is still churning. Right. So what are some other ways that you can actually affirm with your whole body that we have transitioned?
Right. It's an ongoing process, because we create habits, and until you break those habits, it won't fully feel like you are, okay or settled in or have given yourself permission to do it. It's a continual basis. So you start small. So you start the process of what I just said. If we use that same example, you come inside and you say, I have transitioned, out loud, just so that you are specifically telling yourself, this is it. This is what we're doing now. And then you try to do the activity. You try to transition and be with your family. Initially, you're not going to feel settled when you do it because you're going to feel like, I'm still in the workplace. My office is right there. So you're going to be tempted. And it's good to create those boundaries that you tell yourself, even though I'm home, I work from home, I told myself I transitioned, I'm not going to go back to that room to do some work. Like you have to tell yourself. And so
Yeah.
when I say affirming what you're doing, encouraging yourself and telling yourself why you're doing it, affirming yourself why you're doing it, and praising yourself for doing it, for succeeding.
So it's kind of like you're checking a box.
You
for
are checking
any
the box.
Type A people
For the
that
type
need,
A.
that need that box checked.
Right. And I'm talking, I know my wife, so a lot of this, not a lot of this, but some of this, I know her, so I know that would be important for her.
Yeah.
But just for anybody who is trying to establish some of these healthy habits,
But it's also creating
checking
a
off a box,
boundary.
it's creating a boundary, and checking off a box and saying done. It has been proven that when you say done from something or completed, it does something to you psychologically.
Yeah. And I think that helps reinforce the boundary of not going back into the office because if I have affirmed and confirmed with my mind, my body, that we're done, we've checked this box, then it actually gives me less of a feeling like I need to go back in there
Right,
for one
like
more
there's
thing.
still something left undone.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And not to. I also want to say this, that again, there's different levels to one's mental health, and so, when my mental health right now, it's in a controlled, place. I'm obviously doing well, but there's other individuals who maybe have more extreme, more symptomatic symptoms, who might need a lot more. So if you're watching this, there's different levels to this. And so you may say, creating a plan, creating a schedule, listening to some comedy on my way home. That's not working for me. I would say that, again, it's always evolving. And so if that's not working for you, then ask yourself, sit down with yourself and see what will work. What have you done in the past that have helped your mental health or gave you some relief? A lot of times we're not looking for it to be completely extinguished, your symptoms.
Yeah.
But are there things that help you a little bit that alleviate some of your symptoms? And if so, let's try to do more of those things, or let's try to do things that are similar to those things. And that's how you create some healthy habits for yourself. And the thing is with mental health is that 1 minute you can be feeling very well, and then the next minute you cannot be feeling well.
Yeah.
So it's just continuing to be aware of yourself and trying to do those little things that possibly can produce more habits and possibly alleviate some of the symptom relief.
So as you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking about how much I love, as a part of my evening routine, putting on a little bit of Latin jazz and cooking. And as you were talking, I was thinking, but I don't have time to cook, every evening. Our kids have activities and things like that. Like, how do I actually do this? But then it occurred to me, I actually have more time than I realize. I need to get off of social media. So I wonder, assuming that there are more individuals watching this that may be in a similar boat, again, like you said, there's a spectrum here, right? There are individuals that may have more severe symptoms than others. But I think one thing that is common that all of us have experienced is too much social media. So how does one manage social media in this period of time where it's just so pervasive in everything we do?
Yeah, that's a challenge, right? And so some of the helpful things that I am still adopting and putting into practice, because for me, I like to be as transparent as possible. I'm a regular human being, right? But some of the things could be scheduling specific time when you want to be on social media. On your phone, you can schedule how much social media time. Lately, I've been shutting that time off every now and then, be like, no, I'm still looking at things. But when you get into the habit of doing that, you can schedule the amount of time that you want to allot to social media per week. So that's one thing. Another thing is putting your phone somewhere, having a designated time or a designated location where you are putting your phone and you want to be with the family or you want to do your work and things like that. So All of that has to do with, scheduling
Yeah.
and being intentional about putting it in a specific place.
Yeah.
Having accountability. So if we both hold each other accountable, we can say, okay, you know what? After this set amount of time, we're going to be done. And for the remainder of the night, we're not going to pick up our social media.
Are we going to do that?
We could try that.
Are we going to do that? And then we got to report back to the people
Right.
whether
We
or
could try
not
that.
it worked.
on a specific day.
Yes.
And so with that being said, start small. You don't have to say, I'm going to do this every day, right? You want to start small. It's like working out. I come from not working out to want to work out 7 days. It's just not realistic. So you want to set yourself up for success. So let's just try one day where we put the phone away and we don't pick it up for social media or nothing unless it's an emergency.
Okay.
So yeah, accountability. And I think rewarding yourself also, again, going back with positive habits, creating positive habits, find a way to reward ourselves for doing the things that we have set out to do.
Yeah.
All right. Because none of this is easy. If it was easy, we would all be doing it. And so there are those moments where you have to reward yourself for the things that you have attempted to do and not to beat yourself up when you don't do them. Just at any point, you can start all over.
Yeah.
Right. At any point is a starting point.
Yeah.
So just want to always know that.
And I think that so much of what you're saying around is around creating new behaviors. And, I began my career, for those of you that don't know, in fitness. And in the fitness industry, it's all about how do you create those healthy behaviors? How do you help someone sustain those healthy behaviors over time? And we always saw the people that went from 0 to 100. You haven't worked out in 2 years, and all of a sudden you're, 7 days a week, hour and a half a day, and it's just completely unsustainable.
Right,
It just
right.
unravels. And so, what I've learned, not just from working in fitness, but also just over time, is how impactful small steps are. Small steps lead to truly a journey,
Right.
a lifetime journey, a lifelong journey. And that's really what Wealthyology is about, shameless plug. But tell us a little bit about the concept with Wealthyology and a lot of what you're saying, it sounds like really sort of feed into the lifestyle
Right.
of Wealthyology.
Yeah, definitely. So all of this is, with Wealthyology, it's really creating the belief that I can be well, that you can be well. It's a mindset. And so a lot of, for me, my personal journey, if I'm thinking back throughout the whole period, there was a piece of me that just believed that I can be well, like I should be well and I could be well. Anybody going through any type of challenge, specifically now talking about mental health, is that you feel so isolated. You feel like you're the only one going through this. You got the physical symptoms that you're dealing with and the emotional symptoms that you're dealing with that are all internal disabilities. Nobody knows that you're going through. On the outside, it looks good, but on the inside, you are warring, every day. And so the mind is very important. If you could harness the power in your mind towards trying to achieve an activity or achieve a goal, then that keeps the body still in pursuit. It keeps the body still moving. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I maintain the belief that I can be well. All right. And if I maintain that belief, then I'm going to try to do the activities and the things that lead to that. And so I try to tell my clients, especially when I'm telling individuals about when they're calling for the consultation, like what Wealthyology is. And when I say that, man, it's just like it resonates with people.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. They're like, you're right. Like I need to believe that I can be well. You're like, it's just something so small about that. But it has the magnitude of a lot because in that is the very power that heals you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, or get you on that journey, whether it's, going through therapy, whether it's seeing a psychiatrist, whether it's going to rehab, whether it's taking medication, or whether it's just any of those pathways that allow you to get well. It starts you on that journey.
Yeah, because it's your belief system.
Yeah.
And so if you begin with a strong belief system that I have the power to be well,
Right.
I can be well, I deserve to
it.
be well, then the decisions that
I
you
believe
make.
I was created to be well.
Yeah, I believe I was created to be well,
Yeah,
right?
and whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, my wellness is going to look different than your wellness, but it's wellness nonetheless,
That's right.
So,
and
yeah.
so then every decision that you make, you know, most of the decisions that you make will be based off of that belief. So if I believe that I was created to be well, if I believe I have the power to be well, I might make different decisions about what I eat or how I move my body, the type of people that I keep around me.
Right.
You know, the type of relationships that I choose to have in my life. Because if I believe at the core of my being that I can be well and that I was created to be well, then anybody around me that's toxic doesn't really fit into that box. And behavior that's toxic doesn't fit into that box. So to me, the way that you described it, wealthiology is simple in that it's a belief and it's a mindset, but it's transformative in that it really does help you rethink how you're approaching life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of the greatest forms of self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know, because in that it locates yourself.
Yeah.
You know, in that there's a personal inventory of what's around me. What am I doing? What am I not doing? What should I be doing?
Yeah.
It's all of that is incorporated in that one, the belief that I can be well.
Yeah. And I think especially for you to be a Black male counselor at a time like this where racial trauma, gosh, it impacts all of us every single day for people of color, right? And I mean, with microaggressions and the images that we see on TV and in the media, or the lack of images that we see in our fields, it wears on you, you know, the political agendas. I mean, there's so much there. And so what would you say specifically to people of color that are following you, following your work, or just interested in, you know, I want to be well, but everything I see is telling me that I should not believe that I'm entitled to be well.
Right.
And that perhaps maybe it's a privilege and it's not something that is a right. You know, what would you say to that?
I would say you should be well, and you have the right to be well. Same thing. Like, it is for you, right? That regardless of what we see on the media, regardless of what we've been told, regardless of what we haven't been told, you know, because that's a real thing. If you haven't been affirmed, you possibly think that you don't deserve to be affirmed, or you don't deserve some of these things. So that is completely insane, and it's completely wrong. And so just want to let you know that you are entitled to all of these things. And that start with that belief. And then again, what are those things that you need from an individual standpoint? You know, if you come from a background where your family, you just was not shown love or affirmed again, then that is obviously something that you're seeking. A lot of individuals might seek it in the wrong place, but the proper way to try to seek that is locating what you need. You know, I want to be loved. I want somebody to affirm me. So yes, let's start affirming yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can seek affirmation for a lot of different things and a lot of different needs once you've located where you might have a void or a gap. But what I've learned, you know, a lot from the own therapy that I've gone through, and also a lot from you, is that it has to begin within, you know, and once you transform your own belief system, you really do transform your life, but it begins not externally seeking it from out here, but once you've located it, you've got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
Yeah.
That is of the utmost importance, to be able to do the work 100%, knowing that you deserve it, and then giving it to yourself. Because you might get it from others or you might not, but your ability to change, or if you change, should not be dependent upon others. You know, it should be dependent upon what you're willing to do and putting it into work. And it's not easy. And again, you know, none of this is easy. And especially if you come from a place where you haven't received that, you can feel like you will want somebody to affirm you. You want that a boy, that a girl along the way. And hopefully you get that. But if you don't, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get it or you don't deserve it. And it is part of doing the work. Going back to the question, I would say that, you know, limiting what you see, on social media or what you are exposed to. Yes, there are always lots of things happening to people of color, specifically Black individuals, and you can get caught up in wanting to do so much, and which is what you should want to do, but you also want to know yourself. You know, for me, I know that there is a certain limit for me that I can extend from an emotional standpoint or physical standpoint, that if I extend more than that, then it might put me over the top, you know.
Just as far as like being overwhelmed or...
Being overwhelmed, getting to that place where, again, it's trying to be preventive. Not saying you don't do anything, but you just want to know yourself.
Yeah.
I'm big on knowing yourself and having that personal inventory, knowing what you could do and what you should maybe plan to do, you know, prepare yourself to do. So that you have within yourself, it's like a backpack. You want to be prepared. You want to, if you're going on a camping trip, you want to make sure you have a compass, a tent, mosquito spray. You know, you want to make sure you have all of these things that are going to help you on this journey. If you know that you're dealing with mental health challenges, let's just say anxiety, depression, and you are more, you know, at risk of, you know, being more severely depressed because of the things that you're exposing yourself to or things that you're engaged in. Not saying you don't engage yourself in those, it's just knowing how to prepare for that. Knowing your limit, knowing what you could do, what is the amount of time that you need to devote yourself to those things and what's not. Again, it's all prevention. And having a plan for if you do start to feel depressed because you're watching too many things that are affecting our people, then what are you going to do if those things happen? And so that may be getting out in the sun, maybe listening to music, maybe gardening, maybe drawing, coloring. Coloring is big. It may be spending some time with your family, unplugging from social media. It may be a lot of those things that you try to do, but you try to do something because you have took the time out to know what you need.
Yeah, I love that, because mental health therapy, I think, it can take many forms. There are a lot of things that are therapeutic, right? I would never take anything away from talk therapy. I think everybody needs to be engaged with a therapist because of how impactful it's been, just personally, but also how impactful it is. There's a lot of science and research that really backs that, but also, you know, working with your hands, if you know that that's therapeutic for you, meditating, doing yoga is therapeutic for a lot of people. Building things. I've watched you are so good with your hands. You build lots of things around here. You're very good in the yard. So I know that working with your hands is also very therapeutic for you. But, you know, from everything you've said, really, the bottom line is you've got to have a level of self-awareness of what works for you and what is therapeutic for you, because it's not very therapeutic for me to go garden.
Although I'm trying to get her to start gardening, but
that's not therapeutic for me. But I do love running. I do love preparing healthy foods, and that is a way that I take care of myself. It's a way that I take care of my family. It's a way that I'm able to sort of just tune out all of the noise, you know, and really get in tune with my core and my center. So that's Wealth Theology. And
faith. Let's not forget faith. Faith is important. Regardless of what your faith is, I know for me personally, my faith, oh man, I will put that at the top of the list in terms of things that have helped me. Because again, if I built Wealth Theology from a belief standpoint that you could be well, what more, you know, of a, you know, when we're looking at belief systems, your faith is the top thing, believing that there is somebody or something greater than you that allows you the strength to endure tough times and all the things. And that has been one of the things that has allowed me to operate in the way that I'm operating, and that still sustains me. So yeah, definitely don't want to miss that part.
Awesome. Well, Cassiel, our time is up. Thank you so much for all of these practical tips. Where can people find more of you, more information, especially as it relates to mental health and all of those things?
So at Wealth Theology on Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. Those are the platforms that I'm on, and my website. So www.wealththeology.com. Again, Instagram at Wealthyology, and on Facebook, Wealthyology Counseling Center.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can tune in there.
All right. Thank you so much. Our first coffee with the counselor. I'm out of coffee.
Yes,
are you?
yes. I'm almost there, and it's
Okay.
getting a little cool, so
Yeah,
I might be done.
I think that this was a really good conversation. See,
I think so.
All you needed was a full cup of coffee. I think most of you are probably done with your coffee by
Yep.
now.
Yep.
But thank you for joining us. Maybe we'll have some more coffee with the
I
counselor.
definitely think so.
Okay.
I definitely think so. This has been really good.
Okay.
You know, whether it's here, whether it's in another location, but just continue the conversation. You know,
Yeah.
this is ongoing, you know, so if you're dealing with any mental health challenges or opportunities, however you look at it, share your story with somebody that you trust and that have the capacity to help you, or just to be a listening ear. But just don't let this conversation just stop here. Definitely share it, and hope
Yeah.
you have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, that's a great way to close us out. Thank you, darling. Again, share this information, share this episode with someone that you care about, because what we do know is that injustice and inequity thrive in silence. Our action and speaking up is what is going to help us create the community that we want our children to inherit it. Health equity is not a privilege. It's your right. Remember that. Till next time, fam.